Now we go on to the 10-minute rule motion, Emergency and Life-Saving Skills Schools. Dr Neil Shastri-Hurst.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to require the teaching in schools of skills relating to emergency situations, including life-saving skills and for connected purposes. The Emergency and Life-Saving Skills Schools Bill seeks to ensure that every child leaving school possesses the knowledge and skills to respond effectively in emergencies, including life-threatening situations. It is a bill about equipping young people with capabilities that matter beyond the classroom, skills that can preserve life and, in certain circumstances, protect communities. Every year, Madam Deputy Speaker, thousands of people in England find themselves at the centre of sudden, chaotic emergencies. A child at the roadside following a road traffic collision, a victim of knife crime bleeding out, a medical emergency unfolding whilst onlookers wait for an ambulance, watching as precious minutes slip away. All they want to do is help, but too many do not know how. Not infrequently, the question asked afterwards is not what went wrong, but why no one present knew what to do. Most emergencies don't happen in hospitals. They happen in our homes, they happen on our streets, and they happen on our roadsides. It's in those first critical moments, before professional help arrives, outcomes are often determined, not by advanced medicine, but by whether those present can recognise what is happening, act decisively, and summon help effectively. Evidence consistently shows that early recognition and rapid intervention saves lives. Delay, confusion, or failure to communicate accurately with the emergency services can be fatal. And yet, despite this, our education system still leaves too much to chance. At present, Madam Deputy Speaker, whether a young person is taught how to recognise an emergency, how to remain calm under pressure, how to summon help accurately, or how to apply basic life-saving interventions depends largely on postcode, school discretion, or family circumstance. Some pupils do receive this knowledge, many do not. There is simply no guarantee. This is not a criticism, Madam Deputy Speaker, of our schools or our teachers, who already shoulder enormous responsibility. It is simply a recognition that we have not set a clear national expectation that these skills matter. This bill seeks to close that gap. It is built around three core aims. First, to ensure that pupils can recognise emergency situations quickly and accurately. The difference between an accident and an emergency is not always obvious, particularly under pressure. Training pupils to assess severity, identify immediate danger, and understand when urgent action is required is foundational to this. Second, to prioritise effective summoning of emergency assistance. Knowing how to contact the emergency services, what information to provide, how to remain calm, and how to follow instructions given by call handlers is not always instinctive, and it must be taught. Clear communication saves time, and time saves lives. Third, to ensure that pupils receive practical, hands-on instruction in the most critical life-saving interventions, with particular emphasis on the management of catastrophic bleeding. Uncontrolled hemorrhage is one of the leading causes of preventable death in trauma. Pupils should learn how to identify severe bleeding, apply direct pressure, use tourniquets where appropriate, and act decisively to stabilise the casualty whilst prioritising their own safety. This should include, of course, formal stop the bleed training. These life-saving skills are not confined, of course, to domestic accidents. In mass casualty situations, such as terrorist-style attacks, rapid recognition of danger, safe decision-making, and early bleeding control can save multiple lives before emergency services arrive. What is equally important is that pupils should be trained to assess the risk for themselves, to avoid secondary harm, and to act only when it's safe to do so. This is, of course, not about encouraging recklessness, but about fostering informed, disciplined action. And the importance of this cannot be overstated. In emergencies, well-intentioned but untrained bystanders can inadvertently worsen outcomes or place themselves in danger. The training that is envisaged under this bill should instil practical resilience, knowing when to act, how to act, and when not to act. Evidence shows that repeated practice and realistic simulations significantly improve retention and the likelihood of effective intervention under pressure. The objectives of this bill are reinforced by the works of organisations such as Citizen Aid, which has led the way in educating young people on safe responses to major incidents. Citizen Aid was founded by two of my former bosses, Professor Sir Keith Porter and Major General Tim Hodgetts, and I had the pleasure of hosting them to do a drop-in event in Parliament last year. Its programmes demonstrate that pupils can learn to recognise threats, manage catastrophic bleeding, communicate effectively, and act without panic. Their work shows that structured training builds both competence and confidence, particularly in high-stress scenarios. This is not about turning children into paramedics. It's not about overloading the curriculum. It's not about replacing professional emergency services. It is about ensuring that every young person leaves school equipped with a core set of practical, age-appropriate skills, how to recognise an emergency, how to respond safely, and how to communicate clearly with the emergency services. And critically, how to provide basic life-saving assistance until help arrives. This is because preparedness is not a niche concern, Madam Deputy Speaker. It is a matter of resilience. One day, any one of us here may depend upon not upon a professional, but on a passerby. That passerby may be a young person standing there, willing and wanting to help, but uncertain what to do in the circumstances. That uncertainty should not be inevitable. Importantly, this bill is not proposing radical change. Many countries already include emergency response skills within their education system. Here at home, we teach elements of first aid and health and safety in different ways, but we lack consistency, and without the assurance that every child will receive that education. Concerns about pressure on the school curriculum are understandable, but this bill doesn't seek to require wholesale reform, nor does it seek to impose excessive burdens. Training can be delivered through a combination of classroom teaching, practical workshops and simulations. All of these can be supported by qualified instructors, the emergency services and voluntary organisations. The focus must be on gaining those essential high-impact skills. The intent behind this bill reflects a broader societal responsibility. It's not about ideology, it simply recognises that preserving life is a fundamental public good. Pupils trained in these skills will carry them into their families, their workplaces and communities, and thereby have a multiplying effect. In doing so, schools will be directly contributing to national resilience and public safety. What this bill proposes is clarity and coherence, a national expectation that life-saving knowledge is a fundamental part of the curriculum as much as literacy or numeracy when it comes to preparing young people for the real world. International experience reinforces this argument. Countries that embed emergency response training in schools see higher levels of bystander intervention, improved survival rates and greater public confidence. It also reflects a broader truth, that resilience begins long before a crisis occurs. It is built through education, confidence and preparation. By equipping young people with these skills, we do not only improve outcomes in emergencies, we foster responsibility, calm decision-making and a willingness to act for others. This bill is deliberately rooted in prevention rather than reaction, in empowerment rather than fear. Of course, no legislation can prevent every tragedy, but we can ensure that when emergencies do happen, as they inevitably will, the people closest are not left powerless. Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill does not ask the House to make a dramatic leap in policy. It asks us to take a sensible, proportionate step to ensure that our education system reflects the realities of the world our young people will face. For the hardest burden of any of us to carry is not that we tried and failed, but that a life was lost whilst we stood by, not through indifference, but through the absence of knowledge this House could have chosen to provide.
The question is that the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
John Cooper, Lincoln Jopp, Charlie Dewhurst, Blake Stevenson, Bradley Thomas, Jim Shannon and myself, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Dr Neil Shastri-Hurst.
Go on. Show them how it's done. Here we go. Oh, that's good. Very smooth.
Emergency and Life-Saving Skills Schools Bill.
Second reading what day?
Friday the 29th of May 2026.
Friday the 29th of May 2026.
Well done. Well done.